Hey everybody, welcome to Goshen Prepping. Today we're outside, we're going to talk about backpacks. It's a love of my life. Now specifically I want to talk about bug out bags, and I'll always say you don't want to bug out unless your life depends on it, but if you have the wrong kind of bag, it literally may take your life because you're not going to be prepared for this. So I'm going to go through certain things you want to look for and make sure you have it when you're looking for a bug out bag, because there's a lot of novices out there who will pick any bag they see and they're not going to do well for them. So here we go, a whole bunch of things to look for when it comes to bug out bags. The first thing you want to look for is the size of the bag. This guy is 90 liters. I'll link these below, by the way, if you want to look at these, compare them, pick them up. 90 liters, that's a huge, huge backpack. When you talk about weight of the backpack full, you're looking at maybe 20% of your weight. I know some incredibly good in shape people may push 25%, but I'll tell you right, even 20% is going to be really kind of hurting you. So if you're 150 pounds, that's like 30 pounds. That'll fill up fast, by the way. I like the 90 liter one. This is my bug out bag. This is my backpacking bag. I've used this for literally years and years. It's probably 10 years old. It has been incredible. And a lot of the things I'm going to show you today as far as bags go, this has it. Almost all of them. But it's a very quality bag. And the way I see it, if you have extra room, perfect for like freeze-dried food, which weighs almost nothing. Almost, because when we talk about weight, you put things in their ounces. Ounces equal pounds. And pounds equals pain. That's like an old backpack rule. So you may only put in a couple of things that weighs a few ounces here, a few there, but it adds up fast. But nevertheless, I'd rather have a bigger bag that holds everything I need than a smaller bag, and therefore I have to kind of leave some things behind. Okay, this one's Ashley's bag. Still a big one, 60 liters. But again, as backpackers, you tend to go with bigger bags anyway. But the second thing I want to talk about are frames. This has what's called an internal frame, which is fantastic. Boy, I remember when these came out. There was somebody in my backpacking group who got one. I was like, you have an internal frame? What is that? It's crazy. I always had an external frame backpack that you see like from the 70s and 80s. Oh man, I loved that bag. And I swear I'd never go away from an external frame backpack. You know, it's one of the big bars on there you see like from like Land of the Lost, if you ever watched that show. But the internal frame ones are where it's at, because it keeps it nice and snug to your back. Which, not to mention, since it's internal frame, it often has things on here that's going to make it much better for you as far as backpacking goes. But hugging the back for internal frames is what it's all about. So make sure you get an internal frame one. You don't see the external frames much anymore anyway. Sometimes you do, but always go with an internal frame backpack. This bag, probably 30, 35 years old. It's a North Face bag. I remember buying this thing. I was like, I've got a new day pack. This is going to be great. But this taught me a very, very valuable lesson. You make sure, number 3, you have some kind of padded back on it. Besides being internal frame, there's no frame at all on this one, but there's no padding either. So being a sewer I am, to improvise, I sewed in this stylish looking cloth. And what I did was I took like a chair cushion from an outdoor cushion, and it fit in here perfectly. Not only kind of made it like an internal frame, it's only a day pack anyway, you're not long-term hiking, but it also made it, very padded. And this became my best bag I used for years and years, hiking all through the Rocky Mountains in Colorado. This was my go-to bag. Now, there's no need for having bags like this. I have a bag fetish. I'm not going to get rid of it. I use it for whatever, you know, certain day stuff or loading up through cords or whatever. I always have lots of bags to store things in. But anyways, make sure if you get a bag, I don't care if it's a day pack or if you're looking at like a bug out bag or long haul backpack, make sure not only internal frame, but it's nice and padded too. Because if you have anything on here that's going to stick you in the back, which it happens, by the way, like we have for our whole family, pretty large aluminum pots that we use so that way we can cook for the entire family. We have a large family. I've had it before. I'm backpacking, like, oh, things pushing right on my back, even with a nice padded backpack. So make sure you have some kind of protection there so you don't have big pots or anything sticking you in the back. Next up, a padded waist strap. So important. This is one of the most important things, by the way. I've mentioned in previous videos, if you get a bag, make sure it has a waist strap, which at the very least, make sure you have a waist strap. But if you have a padded one, especially the bigger the bag, the better off it is. These things hug your hips, because that's where most of the weight's held, by the way, on your hips, not your shoulders like the good old backpacks from your college days, you know what I'm saying? That would like break your back. Long term, you have to have these. Not only have a padded waist strap, but like you can see on here, make sure you have a very wide one as well, so it hugs your hips and helps you support all that weight. Next up, this is, I believe this is one of my son's backpacks. Again, nice big padded waist, but you want to make sure you have a padded shoulder straps too. These padded shoulder straps, even though you do not have a lot of weight pulling on your shoulders, they will rub over time, which gets very painful. So make sure you have a padded waist strap and padded shoulder straps as well. And besides the padded waist strap and padded shoulder straps, it has to be adjustable. There's all kinds of different size people everywhere, different heights, different weights, different sizes. So having things that make it so you can adjust it, this one you can literally raise up or lower down the shoulder straps. Not to mention the shoulder straps themselves are adjustable. Not to mention the waist strap is adjustable. So you have to have one that's adjustable. You'll find that by basically, if you look at some of the cheaper bags, they won't have a whole lot of adjustments on there. The bigger bags have all kinds of adjustments on there because once you get going, you'll hike for a little bit, then you need to stop about, I don't know, 20 minutes into the trip and say, okay, I need to adjust this and this. It's kind of like a common thing. Next up, you need waterproof. This bag and all our bags are always waterproof. You can get sprays for them. I still don't recommend the sprays, but watch this. If you take this, lift up, this is called the attic, by the way. There's just a whole bunch of stuff in there like mess kits. This is Hannah's bag. Not only on this bag can you close that, but you can literally cinch this smaller. But what's cool about it is this will come down and this waterproof cover covers the whole bag. Now there are some bags you can get actual rain covers for them. I hate those rain covers. They do their job. You don't ever want to get the stuff in your bag wet. It will make your bugging out experience absolutely miserable. More miserable than it's going to be anyway. So have one that basically is waterproof and have it so the attic covers it up. So that way it covers everything nice and easily. That way you can still access it, but don't have to put a raincoat on every single time. Next up, let's talk about mollies. Mollies, by the way, are fantastic. You'll notice on this bag, this is my tactical bag. This is an extra pouch on there. And you can see the mollies attached to it just like there's mollies on here. So you could take this pouch, attach it on, and attach on another bag, and that's what I did on this side. So you actually have like, this is my first aid kit one, and then out here some other stuff. Got another strap for it. And mollies are great, but I want you to understand that don't get hung up on mollies. People sometimes won't buy bags unless they have mollies on them. It's kind of like the old tactical coolness that everybody wants. They have their use, they're great, but don't get hung up on that, especially if you're talking about long term, if you're really going to be bugging out. Sometimes this can actually get in the way. At the very least, have it so you have a first aid kit that you can grab very quickly. That's important. But overall, there's always a rule in the military when it comes to bags, mollies or not, you don't want things hanging off your bag anyway. The more things hang off, the more things clang around, the more they get snagged on things. So don't get hung up on mollies. If you do have one, then just understand you don't want to have it too far out, because obviously on this bag, notice the further away is from your back, is this have something heavy in there, it's going to start taking a toll. So mollies, good to have. Just, I will tell you right now, most people will probably lynch me for saying this, they're absolutely not essential in your bug out bag. Zippers really make a big deal, by the way. The last thing you want to have it is if you're bugging out and you're 3 days into it and your zippers start failing. Because understand, these bags really take a lot of stress. You stuff them full, all kinds of problems. So always make sure you get SBS or YKK approved zippers. And you'll see that in the description, by the way, it'll say that. I am a YKK person. I like those ones. They're actually made in Japan. And then secondly, take a minute and on the zippers, put some paracord on here. And it's not necessarily one of those survival things. You're like, I've got extra paracord and go fishing now. Hopefully you're carrying paracord. But especially if you're backpacking with gloves on, you know, tactical gloves, whatever, it's kind of hard to grab the zippers. So we put these on here so you can grab them very easily. But make sure you have really good zippers on there, because that's actually, by the way, if you buy a cheap bag, one of the biggest things that becomes cheap on it to save cost is they'll put crappy zippers on and crappy buckles, and your bag will break very quickly. And last but not least, wait, where's the nice little cool webbing to hold my water bottle? I'm not knocking that. Having a place for a water bottle is good on the run, but the real good bags always have a place where you can put a water bladder right here. If you rip this open, you put a water bladder in there and it comes up with a straw, and this one probably has a clip right on the wrist, the straps. Yep, right here. So that way, as you're basically on the go, and this bag's on, there's a hose right here, and so that way you can drink water as it goes. But the important thing about that is, again, remember, you want the heaviest stuff closest to the bottom or closest to your back, and these water bladders are always put into a position to the right on your back as it is. So having water bladders, far more important than having the nice little mesh work to carry a water bottle. Honestly, I like both. My backpacks often have both a place for a water bottle and also for preparing food. You know, surprisingly, if you take like a metal canister with you and put some freeze-dried food in that canister with some water and close it 2 hours before you stop to eat, the food will be ready to go by the time you get there. But obviously water is so essential, because especially if you're huffing it, you're going to be using up a lot of water and you have to be able to replenish it quickly. So there you go. There's 10 things you want to look for when you're looking at getting a bag. Again, for most of these, whatever I can, I'll link in the description below so you can look at either just comparing them or possibly picking one up. Doesn't matter if you're looking for a bug out bag, something huge like this that literally is going to carry everything you need, or a small day bag, or in this case, a tactical bag, possibly a get-home bag, which will have a lot of stuff in it, but maybe not everything you possibly need. You want to make sure you carry the correct things, because obviously, if you get a bag and it turns out to be a crappy bag, and next thing you know, you're heading home, you still have a 3 days hike, and halfway into the first day it breaks, what's the point of having the bag in the first place? So make sure you get the things that you need to for your bag before you go out and just waste your money, because when we talk about as far as these type of bags, that's what a lot of people do, is they just buy the cheapest stuff and think it's going to work. I'm not saying some cheap bags don't work for some things, but when it comes to your life depending on it, bugging out or getting home, you want to make sure you have the quality and the things you need. Thanks for watching, everybody.